It was supposed to be an ordinary Tuesday afternoon. The weather was clear. Kids were playing the cul-de-sac, and Jennifer Ruiz had just returned home from picking up her son from school. She pulled into the parking space in front of her townhouse, the same one she'd parked in for nearly 4 years. She unbuckled her seatbelt, turned to smile at her son in the back seat, and then, without warning, the shouting began. What happened next would take less than 60 seconds. 60 seconds that would leave a family shattered, a community horrified, and a 6-year-old boy screaming beside his mother's lifeless body. This is a heartbreaking story of how a simple neighborhood disagreement spiraled into a fatal act of violence, and a chilling reminder that sometimes the most dangerous people live just next door. Jennifer Ruiz, 36, lived in a modest row of townhomes in a quiet suburb of Tampa, Florida. A single mother, she worked full-time as a pharmacy technician and spent most of her free time with her son, Mateo. Friends describe her as warm, dependable, and quick to laugh. She volunteered at Mateo's school and had recently started night classes online to advance her career. Life wasn't easy, but she was building something for them. Just the two of them. Her townhouse complex was small, just 16 units surrounding a shared parking area. Each home was assigned 2 unmarked spaces, but over the years, an unspoken system developed among neighbors. People generally respected each other's habits, and Jennifer always used the same 2 spots in front of her unit. That was until the Carmichaels moved in. Derek and Lisa Carmichael were in their early 40s. They moved into Unit 11 2 doors down from Jennifer in the spring of 2022. Derek, a retired military vet, was known to have a temper. His wife, Lisa, was quieter, often seen walking their dog or watering her flowers. At first, everything seemed normal, but within weeks, Derek began complaining about noise, about trash cans not being pulled in fast enough, and most frequently, about parking. He believed that the spot Jennifer regularly used belonged to him. Jennifer tried to explain that it wasn't a sign and that she had been parking there for years. But Derek wasn't interested in compromise. He began leaving notes on her windshield. Then came the verbal confrontations. One neighbor, who asked to remain anonymous, said he would just yell at her right in front of her kid, accuse her of disrespecting him. It was uncomfortable to watch. Jennifer reported the harassment to property manager, but with no official parking assignments and no physical altercations, they advised her to try and work it out neighbor to neighbor. She started avoiding confrontation altogether, sometimes parking down the block just to keep the peace. But that didn't stop Derek. He installed a motion camera facing her front door. He blasted music late at night. He once stood outside her window yelling insults while she was putting her son to bed. Jennifer confided in a friend via text message, writing, "He scares me. I feel like I'm being hunted in my own home." On October 3rd, 2023, Jennifer picked up Mateo from school and stopped at the grocery store on their way home. She was carrying bags and it was starting to rain, so she pulled into the closest available spot, her usual space, directly in front of her door. She helped Mateo out of the car, still holding a bag of groceries in one hand. That's when Derek came outside. Security footage from a nearby unit shows the confrontation. Derek storms across the lot, yelling. Jennifer tries to de-escalate, telling him she's just trying to get her son inside. Mateo stands beside her, clutching her hand. Then Derek disappears off camera, returning seconds later with a pistol. Without hesitation, he fires twice. Jennifer collapses on the pavement, the grocery bag spilling out next to her. Mateo screams and runs toward a neighbor. Derek stands over Jennifer for a moment, then walks back to his home, places a gun on the porch, and sits down calmly. Police arrived within minutes. Derek surrendered without incident. When asked why he shot her, he replied, "She disrespected me for the last time." Jennifer Ruiz was pronounced dead at the scene. She had been shot once in the chest and once in the abdomen. Mateo was unharmed physically, but his cries could be heard on the officer's body cams as he begged someone to help his mom. The news rocked the community. A mother murdered in broad daylight, in front of her child, over a parking space. Neighbors were stunned. One told reporters, "We all saw the signs." He was aggressive, confrontational, but no one thought he'd do this. A candlelight vigil was held the next evening. Dozens gathered, placing flowers and teddy bears in front of Jennifer's door. Mateo stayed with his aunt, who was now his legal guardian. In the days that followed, stories emerged of Derek's past, a history of anger issues, domestic complaints that were never pursued. Former co-workers recalled outbursts and violent threats. He was charged with first-degree murder and held without bond. Prosecutors rejected any plea deal and announced they would pursue the maximum sentence. The trial began in May 2024. It was a highly publicized case, with courtroom footage shown on national news. Prosecutors laid out a chilling portrait of a man obsessed with control, fixated on dominance, and unwilling to tolerate what he perceived as disrespect. They played video clips of his confrontations with Jennifer. They showed photos of the notes he left on her windshield. The most damning testimony came from a forensic psychologist who reviewed Derek's behavior. She stated plainly, this was not a moment of passion. This was premeditated. He believed he had the right to control her movements, and when she resisted, he responded with fatal violence. Mateo did not testify, but a child therapist read a statement he had written with help. In it, he said, "My mommy always told me be kind. I don't understand why the man hated her so much." The defense tried to argue that Derek suffered from PTSD and acted out of a momentary loss of control, but the jury wasn't swayed. After just 2 days of deliberation, Derek Carmichael was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without parole. Jennifer's family expressed relief, but not closure. Her sister told the press, "Nothing brings her back, but at least we know he can't hurt anyone else." In the aftermath, local leaders called for new policies around neighborhood disputes. A campaign titled Small Fights, Big Consequences launched citywide, encouraging community members to report escalating conflicts before they turn violent. The townhouse complex finally marked official parking spaces to prevent further arguments. Mateo, now living with his aunt and cousins, attends therapy and continues to write letters to his mom. His school organized a kindness campaign in her honor, with students planting a tree in the courtyard bearing a plaque that reads, "For Jennifer Ruiz, a mother, a neighbor, a life taken too soon." Jennifer's story is not just a tragedy. It's a warning about how rage can boil over in silence, about how overlooked threats can turn deadly, and about how, sometimes, the thing that destroys a family isn't lurking in the shadows. It's parked right next to you. In communities across America, small disputes happen every day, over parking, noise, pets, and property lines. Most of them fade into frustration or passive-aggressive glares. But every once in a while, they ignite something far more dangerous. Jennifer Ruiz did not die because of a parking space. She died because someone believed intimidation was power, because someone saw control as entitlement, because someone chose violence over decency. And in the end, a little boy lost his mother, not to an accident or an illness, but to a senseless, preventable act in a place that should have been safe. Jennifer's story reminds us that safety isn't just about locked doors or neighborhood watch signs. It's about seeing the signs before it's too late. It's about speaking up when something feels wrong. And most importantly, it's about choosing empathy over ego. Because a simple act of compassion might not only prevent conflict, it might just save a life. Though Jennifer Ruiz's life was tragically cut short, but her legacy lives on, not just in the strength of her son Mateo, but in the kindness of the community that rallied behind him. Her story has sparked conversations, changed policies, and reminded countless others that compassion must always outweigh conflict. And while we cannot undo the past, we can choose every day to treat our neighbors with patience, empathy, and grace. Because sometimes the smallest choices carry the power to protect the most precious lives. If you connected with this story as deeply as we did, I've handpicked another one that will truly move you. It's a powerful reminder that even in the darkest moments, love and courage still shine through. Don't miss it. Click here to watch next, and let your heart be inspired all over again.